everybody, welcome to the Mindful Magazine channel. Today I have with me Alison Chester Lambert. Thank you very much for coming today.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, Michelle. Thank you for inviting me. This is a really interesting opportunity.
Same for me. So Alison is a really well-known astrologer, and she's an astro-psychologist. She's an author of 2 books, and she released astrology reading cards all around the world.
Yeah.
She also started her own astrology school, and she does teachings and trainings online.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got 3 books out. This is my latest one now.
3 books. What is the latest one called?
This is the Greek mythology reading cards, right? So I did the astrology reading cards with Richard Crooks, and they did really well. I mean, they've sold over 10,000 copies worldwide. And the publisher was retiring, and he said, have you got any last little, ideas that we can just set, for the final list, Spin-to-One Press's final list? And I went, yeah, I've always had this idea in the back of my head about Greek mythology and all the figures of Greek mythology, and that made a great card set. Because, I mean, those guys really knew how to party. They had, all kinds of good guys, bad guys, secretive guys, the whole thing was there. So Richard said, I'm free. I said, well, I'm free. So we put this together in 3 months. 3 months.
3 months.
I had this idea that we could use the art of the Greek mythology figures, because art has always paid so much attention to classical Greece. So I thought, if we take all the really prime art across the world, and then I'll just put the messages sort of closely allied, to the mythological figures and their meaning. So that's what we did. So we've got 50 cards. Anyway, I digress. You carry on.
That's wonderful. No, that's really wonderful, because I have a lot of cards at home. I love to kind of play around with the cards. So it's interesting and it's good to know, because then I can go on the hunt, get some more card decks myself.
Well, what we'll do at the end of this, then I'll pull you a card and then we'll see what you get.
That would be very interesting. Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Okay. We're here to talk about you as an astrologer. Mm-hmm. And could you tell me a bit more about yourself and how you started this whole beautiful journey of astrology?
Well, when I get asked that, I always give the same answer, and I mean it. Pain, literally pain. I was living a life where I was constantly going through relationships, and they were dying. The longest relationship I had was 2 or 3 years. It was always ended in pain. And I was getting, so the whole world was just sort of like, I just couldn't make anything work. And so one day I went, okay, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going to stop this world, and I'm going to get off until I understand what the hell it is that keeps going wrong. And I'd always followed astrology in the newspapers, always read my horoscopes. And I thought, there's got to be more to this. This has got to be the answer. And I was fortunate enough at the time to live in London, where they used to do real classes, where you went into a real classroom. And the Faculty of Astrology was doing this real classroom situation, the certificate course. So I joined up for that. And, oh God, we're going back to 1989, something like that, 1990. And I remember from the first class, I was like, this is it, I've come home. I know this is going to help me understand myself, because that's what I needed to do. Understand myself, my unconscious drivers, why things failed, what I could do to improve them. And so that's really why I started. So I did a year, I did the certificate course. I was far too terrified to take the exam. I just did the course. You could in those days, you could do the course, not the exam. And then I went on and did a year at Regent's College at, there was a Centre for Psychological Astrology there under the great Liz Green, and she was my teacher. And I did a year there. And from there, I was swimming in astrology. I knew it all, as you do when you first start out with anything. But what I did then was I joined telephone live lines. So the newspapers of the UK, News of the World, Sun, Sunday Times, they always had these astrology columns, and at the bottom there was a little bit that said, and if you want to speak to a live astrologer now, then ring this very expensive phone number. So I joined the team that did that, And then I really learned how much astrology I didn't know. But I also learned a lot more astrology, because you're there, you've got the person on the line, you've got a chart in front of you, and you've just got to read it. And so I did several years with them. And so I kind of like got my skills going. And that's it, that, you know, kept going and going and going, and here I am.
Wow. And you've come far, so that's really great.
I'm very, very honoured, and thank you to all the people that have supported me along the way. I feel happy doing astrology. As soon as I open a star, it talks to me.
Yeah.
And I know I'm meant to be doing it. But at the end of every single reading, I still go, that's amazing. How did that work? That was fantastic. This so helped the person in front of me. It always makes all the hairs stand up on my arms every time I do a chart at the end, and they're going, wow. I sit there going, wow, that was amazing. And they go, why are you saying wow? And I'm going, well, I just read this stuff, you know, I didn't invent it. So I sit there going, wow, that was amazing, along with the clients.
New things coming up all the time.
Yeah, every chart's different, every client's different. It's great.
Wow. And I know, for example, I haven't heard of astrology until maybe 2 years ago. And I think a lot of people who are watching now, they don't know that much about astrology, and they can name, for example, they know their zodiac. Could you tell me a bit more about where you look at when you do a reading for clients?
Sure.
Do you look at the zodiac, or are there some other factors?
Right, okay. Well, it's interesting to note that there is more than one astrology. And this is what people need to understand. So you've got the simple astrology that you get with the magazine columns and the sun sign columns. Yes. And then you get a really high-tech astrology, which has various branches. So more than one astrology. So you can look at it simply, or you can really, really go into the high-tech, which is what I do. And so what that does is it looks at the moment of your birth, every aspect of it. So the place that you were born, the time that you were born, the date that you were born. Let me just get my globe here. So you can tell this is live video. So if I put so you're born here, and I put your feet going down into the earth and your head here going up into the sky. Yes. Look how that pen changes when I change the position, born somewhere else. And it's that relationship of you to the sun. So it's all about the relationship of the earth to the sun and your position in it, because of the electromagnetic field lines. So what you're doing is you're being born into an environment, an invisible environment, that is filled with information, electromagnetic field lines and rays. So what I'm looking at is the position of the planets, whether they're in the sky above you and the earth below you. I can see where all the planets are at the moment of your birth. Then I'm looking at the zodiac belt, which is around the earth. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the earth is spinning, not the zodiac belt, but the way we do astrology, we act as if the zodiac belt's spinning and the earth's staying still. It's just the way we read it. And so we've got that. And then we're looking also at whether it's night or day. And so all those factors are put in. So I open up the chart, and I've got all the planets there, the zodiac signs, the houses, and then I just read it. That sounds so simple, doesn't it? I just read it.
And what do the houses present? Because you were talking about houses. What do they present?
Right. So the houses are, it looks like the segments of an orange, right? So if you cut an orange through the middle, then you've got lots of segments, haven't you? Sort of, well, the houses have 12 divisions. So you're dividing a wheel into 12. And so we have 12 houses, surprisingly. And they actually representing the person. So it's like I could stick a little head and arms and legs on these houses, and that's me, right? That's me. And the houses are describing all of my experiences. So my earthly experience with my body, how I feel security and comfort. Another one describes how I communicate, the type of communication that I will experience. And then another one will talk about my menial work and the rituals and routines I will do in my home. Another one will talk about my career. So the houses are all picking up different parts or facets of our lives. That's them.
Oh, that's very interesting. So what clients need to know when they come to you is their date of birth, their time, and then the place where they were born, and then maybe the place where they are now.
Yeah, because if you relocate, so say if you're born in South Africa and you move to London or the States, that pen I was showing you with its position on the earth will change. And so some of the details in your chart will change. And so the forecasting won't be right if you've moved a big distance. So that's it. It's called a relocated chart. So I do a chart called a relocated chart just to make sure I get it completely accurate for those who've moved around the earth.
So you can even see what is the best place for them to live.
You can, but you know, you can. I'll leave it like that. Now, whether or not people should look at their chart and think, okay, where's the best place for me to find a relationship, for instance? Now, you can do that. You can follow your Venus line around the Earth. But you'll likely not find out it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and it doesn't cut across any land. So that can be pretty depressing, because then you think to yourself, well, I'm never going to have a relationship because my Venus goes across the Pacific. Well, you will have a relationship. It's okay. You just have to. What we do is we look at other factors in the chart to look at what are the relationship issues, where's the sticking points, where's the good things that we can, make the best of, or where's the problems that we will have in relating. I think it's better to look at it psychologically like that and think, do you know what, I'm going to move to New Zealand because that's the nearest place to the Pacific where I'm.
Yes. Most close by. And I mean, there's a lot of people out there that go to an astrologer, for example, to know about when am I gonna meet someone? I'm in a relationship. Is this the right guy or girl for me? How do you respond to these situations, and where do you look at?
Okay, well, I think the best thing to think about astrology, the best way to see it, is to think of it as a weather report, right? So I can tell you what the astrological weather is going to be. So now let's say a client comes to me and says, I'm looking for a relationship. This is a question I get a lot. I'm looking for a relationship. So what I can do is I can look at the position of the planets at the moment of your birth. And then I can look at the position of the planets in the sky right now, the transiting planets. And I can put them together. And in doing that, I can predict when is a really good time for you to meet somebody. However, and this is the thing, right? So let's say that meeting somebody is like a boat. You're in a boat and you're going over a sea or an ocean to another land across there. And when you get to that other land, that's your relationship, right? And there he is, George Clooney, waiting on the other side just for you, holding a flower, going, come, I'm waiting for you, right? Well, the problem is that the client can really mess this up, because I can say, there's George Clooney, here's the weather, right? Here's the winds, and these winds can take you across that ocean to George Clooney, right? The problem is, sometimes the clients don't put their boat in the water, and sometimes they don't set the sails so that the winds can actually take them there. And in that case, no way on earth are you going to get to George Clooney. And so you won't get your relationship. So astrology can say this is the best time to do it. But if you hunker down in your house and you're just watching soap operas all night and then slinking to work in the morning and then coming back and hiding again, you're not going to meet anybody, because you've not got a boat in the water and you've not got a sail up. So there we go.
So no one's going to knock on your door.
Well,
wrong delivery, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I do hear people say this to me. Oh, well, I want to meet somebody naturally. And I think naturally. So what they're saying is they don't want to go on a dating site. That is really natural. It's like we're all on there all the time. Is it unnatural to meet somebody on a dating site? I don't think so, because what you're doing is you're just saying, I'm free, and you've got the astrology, the winds are telling you it's a good time. So then, the cosmos has a platform. It can put you together with this other guy. The boat can get in the water. This is the act of the boat getting in the water. Whereas if you're sitting at home just watching soap operas and waiting for a delivery guy to meet naturally, then you're really reducing your opportunities.
No, it makes a lot of sense, actually. Because a lot of people, they just, indeed, they do nothing. And then they're like, oh, why can't I get a relationship? Or these, you know, even me, I have been in this situation, like, I don't really feel like going out, but maybe I want to. And then you stay a bit in the middle. And then you didn't sail. You didn't went on the sea. Yeah.
That's it. And then when they come back, well, your prediction was wrong. I go, no, my prediction was right. What did you do with the boat?
You didn't make the boat. Something went wrong. And besides relationships, for example, there's a lot of people lately, you hear a lot about, this is my life purpose, this is what I'm supposed to do. Can you see in someone's chart what is their life purpose and what they are supposed to do in this life?
Yes, you can. We've got something called the North Node, which is actually where the moon path of the moon crosses the sun path. And it's a highly karmic place. Because if you can imagine the moon going round and round, the sun going round and round, it's like a boat going round and round in a lake, right? So it's making its own sort of path, and the waves all know what they're doing. You know, it's like stirring a cup of tea, everything's going in the right direction. You put another boat on there and the two paths collide. And when that happens out in space, it rips space-time open. There is, you know, all the gravitational corridors, the electromagnetic field lines and everything all get torn apart and ripped apart, and it makes a place in space where the energy from the other realms comes in, actually gets into our space-time. It's a very karmic place, and so, you know, you've got in the other realms, you've got all the energy, which predictive energy, so you've got spirit and you've got a great soul lake, and we can, you know, these are the places that we plug into when we're psychic, when we get a gut intuition, or when we psychically know something, or a clairvoyant tells us something. They're getting it from the other side, from these invisible realms. Well, this energy floods in this place called the North Node, and we use it in astrology to look at the life path. This is the life path that you know you're supposed to be on, but also it is also about meeting the energy of all the other planets. It's about picking them all up and running with them. It's about using every part of your chart. Now, most people only use about 25% of their chart. They have a reading, they can use a bit more because they're being told what it's about. But it takes a lifetime, really, to get around all these planets and sort of fulfill the expectation of all of them. You know, it's that you can spend a long time doing it. But if you get 100 years, you might just do it.
But is it, so maybe it is possible that your life purpose is just for a certain period as well. So in this period, you discover this side of yourself and you bring it along, and then maybe this period you experience this side of yourself, and you're going to kind of combine it or leave it in a way.
Yeah, that it is true that we're going through cycles. The transits will tell us when we're having we have something called progress planets, and they will tell us when we're in a 30-year cycle of something in particular, or a 2.5-year cycle of something in particular, or focus on a particular zodiac sign or a particular planet. So yeah, the astrology can also help us to know what is the focus going from 2020 through to 2025. What should I be focusing on? Yeah, sure, astrology can help with that.
Oh, that's interesting, and it can answer a lot of questions for people.
Definitely.
A lot of times we wake up and we think like, oh, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do right now? It feels like a bit of a cloud, and then you don't know what to do next. So this would be a really good opportunity to dive a bit deeper into yourself and where you have to go next.
I think it ought to be taught in schools. No, yes. I don't know why we aren't teaching astrology in schools, because this could help all the school kids know everything. You know, what am I supposed to take for my subjects? Well, maths.
Yeah, this is my talent. So you can immediately focus on your talent.
That's right. Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking about astrology, and could you tell me a bit more about where it came from?
Yes, yeah, it's been around a while, right? So we've got evidence that the Babylonians were practicing astrology. So astrology is an art, or it's a science. There's big arguments about that, but it's something that you do. It's an act of doing something. You construct a chart and you read it. And we know that the Babylonians were certainly looking at planets and recording them, making what we call empirical observations. So watching the planet Venus, the sun, the moon, Mars, and writing down. So when Venus is there or does this, look what happens here. Then the ruler falls, or there is trouble, or there is pleasure. Or so they were comparing really what happened with the nation and what was happening with the planets. So the Babylonians were doing that 6,000 years ago, like incredible. Well, probably not the Babylonians at that point, but we've got evidence that races were at that point, very long time ago, doing those kind of empirical observations. And then we can look at the Egyptians, for instance. So we can say 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians were standing on the top of the temples and watching the hours go by at night. So watching the heavens and the stars and making observations and recording with our star charts. So they knew exactly where the sun was on the other side of the planet every hour, right? So they were contributing something to do with astrology as well. From them we get, the houses in the chart. And then the Greeks came along and they added to it their philosophical thinking, the idea of I being so strong and powerful. And so the first charts that were actually constructed in the way that we do them now all happened between 300 BC, 300 AD. The whole lot was put together around the turn of that millennium. And they took pieces from all around, from Babylon and from everywhere, the Levant and Egypt, and put it all together. And so it's got a long history.
That's interesting. And now when you think about it as well, like how did they got all this knowledge, and how much patience must they have had to sit down and just see what is happening in each period of time, basically.
But they didn't have television, so the sky was their TV. I mean, I was over in Turkey a few years ago, very close to the Syrian border. We even heard the gunfire at one point. But what we were looking at was these lovely ancient villages where the people were still pretty much living the style of life that they'd had many hundreds and thousands of years ago. And we came across this one village where all the beds were outside. They had these metal beds and they were all outside, and they all used to sleep outside so they could watch the stars. That practice has been going on for thousands of years. So they're watching these stars, and it's their TV at night, and they're making up the myths and the stories to do with how these constellations are moving around, but also how the planets, because the planets move all over the place. Constellations just wander around according to the seasons. Planets move quite quickly. And so they'd be looking at all of this. And it was so much more meaningful because you could reach up and touch the stars then. They were so bright. So it's a huge part of their lives.
That's really fascinating when you think about it, because we have so much time in our daily life. We spend so much time in rushing, working, and they have the time to actually look at the stars and see what's out there.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And you were also talking about karmic life. And what I was wondering, can you see if someone has a karmic life, and does that have something to do with people's traumas?
So yes, you can. You can look at what we call the water in the chart. So water houses, water planets, water zodiac signs. You can see family karma coming through the matriarchal line. And you can see crisis and trauma repeating itself through the families. So let's just take an example of a child born out of wedlock. You can see that being repeated through the generations. Why does it keep happening? This is a family karma that keeps repeating, or you get mental health issues, or something comes through the family. So yeah, you can.
And how do you solve that? I mean, I can imagine that's very difficult to take in as well for the people that come for your reading. And but did you actually see results happening after you told them to change it?
Yeah, well, it's more about understanding it. right? So if you understand that you are a child who's been born into a karmic, matriarchal line where this particular thing keeps coming up, perhaps marrying violent men or whatever, then it's more about understanding and making sense of your life. If we can understand and make sense of something, then we can go, wow, so I'm actually living this karmic line where everybody always leaves their husband after 4 years or something, whatever it is. And then you can, when we know something, when we understand it, when we hold it up to the light, it's no longer in the dark.
Yes.
And that's the problem. When something's in the dark and hidden, then, to be honest with you, we can't manage it. The unconscious is in control. But as soon as we know about it and we take it up and put it into the light, our soul, our psyche, our attention goes to it, and it starts to change it. And so all of that can change simply by understanding and knowing about it. And that's the magic of this work, really.
Oh, wow. And what if just one person understands? So one has the vision and the rest doesn't want to listen, because you're talking a bit about a group. It's almost like a karmic group. A family is a karmic group, and they play out roles against each other or with each other to solve something.
Only one person has to know about it. One person has to put attention onto it and understand it.
Yes.
It magically heals it back through the generations. Everybody who's died, their energy is getting healed at the same time as the unborn. They're getting healed a bit too. When you heal it for that one person, everybody behind and everybody in front all gets healed of that issue.
So it's like the whole ancestral line is healed.
Yeah. Magical stuff. It's amazing to work with.
Yes. And I think with this knowledge, even now in this interview, when we're talking about this and you're watching it, you could, because a lot of times people try to heal other people. They're like, I wish this other person does this, or I wish this other, but what they have to do is they have to heal themselves.
That's exactly it. It's this responsibility of recognizing that you have to do the work, and then it all spins off of that. Trying to get somebody else to heal you, well, I guess if they're an expert in their subject and they're doing something like shiatsu or some kind of Reiki, they can assist, but they're only assisting you as the client, and really it starts with yourself.
Oh, that's really amazing. So for everyone, just start with yourself. And what do you think, for example, what do religions think of astrology? I mean,
yeah, in the 17th century there was a big fallout, a big bust up. If we go back to, let's go look at the Christian church, right? The Catholic Church. What does the Catholic Church think of astrology? If you read the Bible, you'll be told that astrologers should be burnt like stubs of wheat, right? You should burn like you burn the fields when you've taken all the harvest, and the astrologers should be burnt like that, right? So we don't get a good press. And I think that's because the main monotheistic religions all wanted to take control. And so astrology gives you a lot of power, a lot of control over your own life. You have a deeper understanding. Now, that doesn't suit the church, that basically wants everybody to just do what the church wants, right? And so mysticism and magic and astrology and all these other things were sort of taboo, banned. And so astrology has been sort of sidelined. So at that point, right, the church or science don't want astrology. They just don't want it. The scientists don't want it. So it's like a three-way thing. Now, the church and science have an uneasy relationship. So you've got an uneasy relationship going on all over the place. But the fact remains that astrology is still here, durable. It has existed. People are still following it, stubbornly following it, even though it has been disgraced by this person. We've got this famous guy, Brian Cox over here, who's always, you know, being cynical about it. But we don't go around being cynical about him. He goes around being cynical about ours. But people still follow it because people's experiences, it works, right?
Yeah.
And where religion can't help them, astrology can. And so, of course, you're going to want to keep something alive and keep using something that has such a healing effect. But yeah, no, you're right. You know, the church. But recently, with the new multi-faith thing coming in and laws against discrimination for beliefs and faiths,
Yes.
everybody's had to be a whole lot more broad-minded, and everybody's had to be more inclusive. There are religions based on astrology. The Hindu religion is based on astrology.
Yes.
There is a religion called Manichaea, and the Manichaeans base their religion on astrology. So we're getting a lot better press these days.
And it's just, I think, a lot of times it's the fear of people. Because when I say, oh, I went to an astrologer, you know, and then they panic a little bit and they're like, I don't know if I want to know my future.
They think it's spooky. Yeah.
It's spooky because do I want to know who I'm going to meet, what I'm going to do? Maybe I will die. Maybe I won't survive.
Yeah, but astrology won't tell you that. You know, I have no idea how to see death in a chart, and I never want to. That's way too much for me. And astrology won't say you're definitely going to meet somebody. You see, it'll only say this is the best time to. So they shouldn't be afraid, because a good astrologer will always leave them feeling upbeat, happy, in charge. It's about putting the client in the driving seat of their life. It's about making them feel more in charge, more informed, with more understanding.
Oh, that's really wonderful. So it's more about the insights for people, for themselves, actually. Like
know thyself.
Sorry?
Know thyself.
Yes. To just get to know yourself a bit better, and then you get the magic in the hands.
Yeah.
In your hands, and then you can move on through life.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe just to round it up a little bit, could you tell me in maybe one sentence, what is astrology to you? My
world, my life, everything. I don't always do my transits in future, but I'm entranced and thrilled by its magical properties and how it can help people. Astrology to me is a tool that I'm lucky enough to be able to use to help clients. And I just thank every day when I'm there helping clients and it does that, I'm going, wow. So I love astrology and I love what it's done for my life.
So basically you have a job that you actually love to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Which sounds like a dream.
It is. I pulled your card. You've got Dionysus. I can't even say it. So Dionysus is merrymaking, right? So you have a cosmic instruction to go out, drink wine, and enjoy yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's basically how I felt lately. I'm out and about a lot and having a lot of fun.
Great.
So
that's it. Well, there you go. There's your card. Now go and live it.
Got a confirmation from the universe that it is okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you. I really enjoyed this. I really hope people share this. If you enjoyed this video, please share this video, because I think this should get out there. I really do. Let's make it go viral.
It's true. It's true. I really enjoyed interviewing you. I've learned so much today. And for anyone who wants to book a reading with Alison, if I say it right, go to Alison Chester Lambert.com.
Yeah, AlisonChesterLambert.com. AlisonChesterLambert.com. Thank you.
Exactly. And thank you so much. And I wish everyone a wonderful day.
Thank you
very much.
Bye. Bye.